Hi there. All right. For waiting. So I guess you guys are here. Hello, welcome. If you want to say hi in the chat, I'd love to say hi back to you. Oh, I'll put my So today I thought we would talk about shaft envy. And if we're being honest with ourselves, if we're a weaver, we've probably, I'm going to say almost every single one of us has had shaft envy at some point, if not, an ongoing issue. I think that a lot of us, myself included, I started with a 4 shaft. I mean, other people start with a rigid heddle. You've got 2 shafts. You can get more with a rigid heddle, but you're usually going to start with just the 2. And then you want more. I started with a 4 shaft floor loom. And of course, it seemed every single draft I looked at seemed like it was an 8 shaft draft. And I really wanted an 8 shaft draft. Or I'm sorry, I really wanted an 8 shaft loom. I was really, really, really hoping to get an 8 shaft. So I did get an 8 shaft, but then I got it in my mind. I really wanted a 16 shaft AVL. That was sort of my dream loom. And I ended up finding a 12 shaft colonial. It was a Leclerc colonial. And it was quite a ways away, maybe 2.5 hours away one way. And it was a big loom. It was a 60-inch loom. And I didn't really think anything of it. I was like, beautiful, the bigger the better. Well, 60-inch looms are daunting. If you don't actually have a need for a 60-inch loom, I never recommend that people go ahead and get a 60-inch. They're really big and they take up a lot of space. And it's really hard to throw a shuttle on a 60-inch loom. So you almost always need a fly. And if you're using a fly, you may as well say you have an 80-inch loom, because the fly takes up a lot of space too. And you need that space, even if it's just in one little spot. So I got a 12 shaft. And the funny thing is, then I was still pretty new to weaving at that time. And there really aren't a lot of 12 shaft drafts, or at least I couldn't find them at that time. I had 8 shaft books, I had 4 shaft books. I didn't have anything that showed me 12 shaft drafts. So I ended up doing a lot of 8 shaft drafts. And that 12 shaft loom was a custom made loom. The lady I bought it from had it custom made, and it had 20 treadles. Oh my goodness. That was too many. It's too many. It was too big. I struggled with it all the time. I can't tell you how many times I sat and cried at that loom. I wanted to have bonfires with that loom so many times. And then one day on my local Kijiji, which is like Craigslist, I saw an AVL pop up not far from me. I couldn't believe my luck. But I also knew my partner, he's not going to be keen on this. We just went, like this 2.5 hour drive to get this 12 shaft loom. Not long, maybe 4 months before. And I had this other loom I still had. And so I thought, oh my God, he's not going to be okay with this. He's not going to be thrilled if I want to drag home this other huge loom. So my first thing I did immediately, I put my other 2 looms up for sale, and I messaged the lady who was selling the AVL and said, listen, I want to buy your loom. I have to run it by my partner. It was a big purchase. I have to run it by my partner, but I've put up my other 2 looms for sale. So providing I sell those, I'm sure he's going to be fine with it. She came back to me and said, hey, is that colonial, that 12 shaft colonial, your loom that just went up for sale? I said, yeah, it is. And she said, well, let's trade. So I traded her plus a bit of cash. And boom, I had a 16 shaft AVL, which to this day, that was a long time ago, is still my dream loom. I've upgraded it incredibly. I've probably spent, I don't know, probably close to $10,000 on upgrades on it. I just keep adding new things on it, and it's a dream loom now. But getting back to, I'm looking in the comments and I'm not seeing anybody telling me what loom do you have? Do you have shaft envy? Have you had shaft envy? My weaving teacher, she tells me, I'm still friends with her. She tells me she has a 4 shaft and that's all she's ever wanted. And I want to believe her. I mean, she seems genuine and she seems like a very honest woman. I just find it hard to imagine being happy with 4 shafts forever. I mean, she's been weaving for years and years and years. Like I think she started weaving as a girl and I don't know, she retired several years ago now. So she's probably been weaving 40 years, eh, 50 years, maybe. I'm not sure. A long time. Anyways, she has a 4 shaft. And she says that she is happy with it, that she enjoys playing with color. And I think that's admirable. Like I wish I could be like that. And I like playing with color, but I don't think I play with color the same way she does. I play with color with my dyes. I like to dye the yarn and play with color in that way, but she likes to play with, you know, she buys factory dyed cotton or whatever yarn it is she's using. For the most part, I'm sure she gets hand dyed occasionally, but she just plays with how the colors play with each other in the drafts. And I think that's amazing. I wish I could find that satisfaction. So I came up with a few solutions to having shaft envy because, I said I have a 16 shaft. I actually have now 3 16 shaft AVLs. And I've actually had another 16 shaft that I sold. It was a Leclerc weave bird. I just prefer the AVLs. And I like that my looms are all the same. So my parts are interchangeable. If one has a problem, I can switch parts in and out. I like that a lot. But I have wanted more shafts. I've wanted 24. Then I think maybe I should just get a 40 shaft loom. Wouldn't that be amazing? So I went to Complex Weavers. They have seminars every 2 years. Sorry, I got confused because of COVID, but every 2 years there's a seminar as a get together. And I have gone twice now and I've talked to a lot of weavers and almost everyone at the Complex Weavers meetups. It's an international weaving guild. Almost everyone there has a multi-shaft loom, like 16 and up. And I've asked everyone I've talked to, how many shafts do you have? And do you find that comfortable? And do you like it? And the answers back have actually surprised me. So most people I've spoken to who have 40 shafts feel it's too many for them because most of the weavers I've spoken to are women, and they say that it's just too hard to reach all the way to the back to get to the last shaft to thread it. They say it's really awkward, and that perhaps those are better for men or for taller women, somebody with longer arms. So they talked me out of wanting a 40 shaft. I just thought that's true. You have to be comfortable, and it takes a long time to thread a loom. So I've thought 24. If I found a 24 shaft loom, I might snap it up. I don't know. I might. It depends, it's a struggle. I would never buy a new one, that's for sure. But I've never bought a new loom ever. And I've bought and sold a ton of looms. I just think there's so many looms out there that can find a new home that I just personally never feel the need to buy a brand new loom. That's just me. I buy new parts for my looms, but never a whole brand new loom. Let me see. I'm going to read what the comments are. I had an 8 shaft Gilmore, which I loved. I had to sell the downsides when we moved. A 32 shaft AVLK on order. Woohoo! So awesome. That's awesome. I have a 4 shaft Artisat. I love Artisat looms. I have one sitting right in front of me, a 4 shaft, as a matter of fact. But honestly, I have a rigid heddle in my living room that I use more because it's instant gratification. I know, you know what? The lure of the rigid heddle is strong right now for me. I think I'm probably going to invest in one because exactly what you're saying. They seem easy and the gratification seems fast. Gratification with the floor loom is slow. But someday you'd like an 8 shaft. Okay, so here's my 3 cents. I'm going to give you 3 instead of 2. I think that an 8 shaft is the best loom to get for most people, unless you're really doing complicated stuff and you really want to dive in. I feel like the 8 shaft is just such a nice sweet spot. It's not too complicated. If you get a 16 shaft, you either need like a table loom where you have levers, or you need a Dobby. And the Dobbies get, I personally, I have CompuDobby, love it. I had a mechanical Dobby originally, did not love that. I didn't like pegging out my Dobby, but I like the CompuDobby. But it is more complicated and it does involve more parts. So the step down from that for me is not a 12 shaft. I just found that a little overwhelming, but an 8 shaft. And there's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of drafts for 8 shafts. You know, you can do so much with an 8 shaft. I could probably, if I had to, be happy with an 8 shaft, because even on my 16 shaft, I often use 8 shaft drafts. I use 8 shaft drafts, and then I'll use 4 more shafts for the selvage. I like to do the selvages separately. I have 16 shafts, I may as well. Okay, the loom I have on order is only 32 inches wide because my space is limited, and the double width weaving discussions have been really helpful. Yeah, I get that. You know what? I would never ever buy another 60-inch loom. They're just too big. They really are. They take up so much space, and they're hard to sell. I see them for secondhand, and they don't sell that well secondhand. I don't think, because they seem to sit and sit and sit. Because who has space for a 60-inch loom? And like I said, then you need to have fly shuttles. I don't mind using a fly. Like I'm good with that, but it just takes up more space, and you have to kind of be prepared for that. And I think as a first time 60-inch loom buyer, you don't appreciate how much space it needs for that. Yeah, 8 shafts do so much. Yeah. The mechanical Dobby bars are well, the mechanical Dobby bars might be expensive, but they're a pain. You have to peg them out all the time, and then you end up just using one draft because you don't want to repeg your bars, and then that's boring. You get bored of that pretty quickly. And then what's the point of having a 16 shaft if you're never changing your draft, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. I don't love I like my loom that I said that my first original loom, AVL loom that I got, it was a mechanical Dobby, and I switched that out to a CompuDobby. It was a snap to change. It was easy. It was like, I think the CompuDobby head was like $4,500 or something though. Like, it was not cheap, but it it revolutionized my weaving for sure. Um, yeah, a lot of exactly. All the great drafts you see everywhere are 8 shaft. The other thing I was going to say is, if you really want more shafts, there's a couple things. So maybe just go to handweaving.net and look up drafts for how many shafts you have, right? You can set how many shafts you're looking for, and just see if you can't be happy with maybe what you have. Maybe explore all the drafts you really want to try with the shafts that you have. And then if you get, maybe I'm trying to think of ways to be happy with what you've got, right? So that's a good way. If you really, really, really feel you need more shafts, yeah, I think just go ahead and me, myself, personally, I actually look all the time on Kijiji. There's a few spots I look for secondhand looms almost daily. I had a few years where I didn't. I was satisfied, but now that I'm doing YouTube, I'm like, I kind of need some different looms. Oh my goodness. So I'm back to looking every day for looms. I've only bought 3. I've sold 2 of them. 3 of them. I've sold all 3. I bought 3, sold them all. They just that's another topic we're going to talk about, buying and selling looms. I'm chronic, and I feel like most weavers are always buying and selling looms. But we'll talk about that another day. And spinning wheels. Yeah. Um, the other thing I was thinking, so handweaving.net is a great resource. Also books. Like, if you have some really good books, actually I brought one I meant to show. I set it aside. Hold on one second. If you want, I'm sure a lot of you probably have this, but this book, let me see if you can see it, 8 Shafts. It's by Carol Strickler, 8 Shaft Patterns. And This book is in black and white. Let's see if I can show it to you. It's in black and white if you've seen this book. Now, if you're on Facebook, there's a group called Strickler in Color. And that's a great group. You have to either have, you have to at least have the book in your possession, because to get in, you have to know some of the certain things on certain pages to get into the group, because you need to have the book to make it. It doesn't really make sense if you don't have the book. So I know some ladies in my guild use the books from the guild to get into the group, but it's really neat because all these patterns are black and white, and sometimes they look sort of boring and not that exciting. But if you go to the group, each of these drafts has a number. And oh, here's one I've modified this one and made tea towels out of it. But this one's draft 227. So if you go into that group and you type in the search bar 227, you're going to see that draft in color. In all the people, every time somebody posts, that's part of the rules of the group. You post, what you've done and the number of the draft. And it's so great because you see these drafts and you might think, oh, I don't know, it looks a little weird. I'm not sure how it's going to look. And then you pull it up in color. Oh my goodness. There's one that everybody wants to weave. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. So this one is a really popular one, 728. It looks so boring in this picture, but if you see it, when you see it in that group and how people play with the color in that draft, it's amazing. I have woven it. I have not woven it in any really amazing way like I've seen in that group. I keep thinking I want to do it and play with color to line up the color and the pattern. It's so neat. Anyway, so I'm just saying, if you have an 8 shaft or you want an 8 shaft, this is a good book. That's a great group. It'll help. I think that if I had an 8 shaft, I could be satisfied now. I would, with this book and those groups and handweaving.net, I could be satisfied with an 8 shaft. As much as I've already said that I kind of want a 24 shaft, and if I saw one, I'd probably buy it maybe, but I don't yearn for a 24 shaft anymore. I did for a while, but I'm actually quite happy with my 16 shaft. And in fact, I don't even always, I'm currently using all 16 shafts, but usually I don't. Usually I do 8 shaft patterns with 4 shafts for the selvage. So, oh, I don't know how to delete these. Let me see. Okay. Oh, another one. Find love. Oh my goodness. Okay. Hi, June and Kim. I've been talking to Kim and Michelle. Yeah, so I don't, I often think too, and when you're buying your first loom, I know we always buy like, oh, I'm just gonna get a 4 shaft. I think that's fairly common. Although, I've been doing these weaving tours, and one of the ladies, her very first loom is this gorgeous 8 shaft, brand new. I think it was an Ashford, gorgeous loom. And she said, one day I hope to maybe get a 16 shaft, like way down the road. And I said, oh, I saw one for sale on Kijiji the other day. And she bought that loom. She's like, thank you for telling me. I bought it. So I guess I'm an enabler too. I guess that's pretty common. Okay, so I guess that's about, I also was talking about future proofing. I'm sorry, I'm just reading my notes here. I talked about in my notes future proofing. So instead of buying that 4 shaft when you're first starting out, maybe think ahead a little bit and buy an 8 shaft. I would just suggest to anybody starting out to just buy an 8 shaft if you can find it. But that's me. I guess I know what I'm like. I know that I'm the type, I always want to buy the nicest, or I'm trying to like future proof, right? Like when I had a family, I was always buying like the biggest crock pot. Now there's just 3 of us in the house and I don't need these gigantic things. But, that's, even the toaster, like the 4 slice toaster, I only ever use 2 slices. But I know that I always want 4. I guess I guess I'm not that unusual. I'm sure lots of us are like that. So you blocked the sender? Oh, good. I deleted their messages, but message deleted by Rebecca. Yeah. Okay. I don't know how you blocked them, but I like it. Did you just block them personally, or I'm not sure how that works. It's funny, even on a little tiny channel like mine, I don't have how many people are here? Like five people are here and somebody's in spamming. I don't get it. I don't get it. But anyways, I guess that's about all I have to talk about today. Although I did make a nice list of other video ideas that I could do, so I thought I would talk a little bit about. Um, I I just sorry, I'm looking here at my desk. I thought I would mention maybe what we're going to talk about in days to come. I made a little list of topics. Oh, one of the things I thought we could talk about is loom collections because weavers tend to collect looms, and I think that's sort of interesting to talk about. I also wanted to talk about buying and selling looms because, that's something at least I know myself, and I suspect a lot of other weavers are always buying and selling. Very often I go into somebody's, I just go, I'm buying a loom and I go over and I'm astounded by the fact that they've got six looms or, you know, very often they have a lot of looms. It's either they have a lot of looms or the loom is old and dusty and it's been sitting against a wall and it's never been touched in years and years and years. That there's like those two. It's one or the other. Never seems to be anything in the middle. The other thing I was going to talk about is sectional beaming versus plain beaming. Does that make sense? I think that there's a lot of different schools of thought there, and I thought I've done both extensively, so I thought I could talk about that a little bit. And traditional floor looming, traditional floor looms versus mechanical dobbies versus CompuDobbies. I kind of touched on that a little bit today. I thought I would talk about the different features on my AVL. Like I told you, I've invested a small fortune in my AVL, and I'm excited to see that some of you guys are AVL users too. I just thought I would really dive into what I've invested in and how it works and why I bought it, why I invested. I also was thinking about having a vanilla chat because I am an avid vanilla brewer, I guess I would say. I make vanilla extract, and those are just the next topics I thought of. If you guys have suggestions, because I want to go live every day now until Christmas, so I'm happy to discuss. I'm happy to discuss topics. If you guys want to bring forward topics, that would be great. Did I see the new four shaft adaptation for the Cricut samplet? I have not seen that, but that's kind of cool. A samplet's really tiny, isn't it? That's neat. I don't know what I would weave on it. Press on it and hit block. Oh, okay. I just deleted their messages, but maybe I can do that too. It says ad block. Oh, whatever. Great topics. Thanks, Kim. Reconditioned 1970s. I never know how to say it. Is it Glimacra? Glimacra, I think that's correct. I'm not sure. Counterbalance from recently. My only loom. Wow. That's impressive. I'm like proud of you for only having one loom. I don't know how long I had one loom for. It was not very long. It was not very long at all. I guess that's the thing, right? Like then I wove for a living for the last 9 years. So I guess I dove in hard and fast, hard and fast. You love doing scarves. Awesome. Yarns, where to get them from. Okay, that's a good one. I'm gonna make a note of that. I'll put it on my list. I have a few different places. It depends on what kind of yarn I'm buying. As in, am I buying a lot of yarn? Because what happens? Because I beam sectionally, right? So typically, if I'm doing say 24 ends per inch, I've got a 2 inch. My sectional is I can make it 1 inch or 2 inches. So typically I do 2 inch because it's faster that way. So if I was doing 24 ends per inch, I would want 48 ends. And so I would just buy 48 cones of yarn. And because of, being a production weaver, I tend to buy big cones. So when I'm buying yarn, I might be spending several $1,000s buying, whatever. Oh my God, Sea Island cotton is an example. It's small fortune. It's the rarest kind of cotton there is. It's like 0.003% of the world's cotton, but it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful cotton. It's kind of like silk, like it's just gorgeous. I love it. But anyway, so what I'm saying is for those kind of big bulk buys, I would buy them somewhere different than, buying cones from Maurice Broussard, which is my local, I consider them local, my local place, but we'll discuss that more. Favorite books, okay. Dyeing warps. Oh, you know what? I wonder if I could do a live down in my dye studio and we could dye some stuff down there. I did a video on dyeing just recently. I'm going to take a second look at it, see if what it was like. I did a talk with my weaving guild recently and I discussed dyeing and using fiber reactive dyes. And so I thought I did a little video on that. I'm sure I did. I don't know. We can discuss it some more. Dyeing warps. Oh yeah, warps. Warps is a little different, right, than wefts. Warps is a little more complicated. But I might be doing that. I might be dyeing another baby wrap warp soon. So I will for sure. I might be able to do it live, but I might need to do that one and just record it because those would be paid for products and I don't want to be getting distracted while I'm while I'm dyeing stuff that's sold. Although that could be cool live. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. Mm. Favorite books. All right, I'm gonna make a note of that too. And the rest here. I'm afraid that the chat's gonna go away and I won't find it again. So I'm busy trying to write stuff down. I shouldn't be making notes, but I'm afraid this chat, I'm not going to come back to it. It'll disappear on me. Although I think it should be there. I've sold almost all of my baby wraps through my Facebook group. And so basically, I would say I've made my living online for 9 years. And now, even still, I feel like I'm really clunky. Technology is not my best friend. And it's hard to believe that for years, even before I was doing weaving, I was working on a computer. I was working remotely through my computer. So I don't know. I just feel like it's not second nature to me, though. It's not super easy. I tried using a Mac for a little while and I just could not manage at all with it. I wanted to. I would love to be able to use a Mac proficiently, but it's too late for me. I can't figure it out. I tried, I used it, I limped along for like 3 years with a Mac. I just finally couldn't manage it anymore. Okay, so I'm going to let you ladies or people, I don't know, that could be men. I'm going to let you go now tonight and we will get back together tomorrow and we're going to talk about loom collections. That's my goal tomorrow. So I'm going to try and come up with some good information about that. And I will meet you back here tomorrow. Thanks for coming, Kim and Cece and June and Michelle. Going through, seeing if I've got everybody. All right, thanks. Have a nice evening. Bye for now.